Have you ever wondered why some people experience silence as abandonment, while others experience closeness as pressure? Why some of us reach for love, while others retreat from it? Why some people feel safe opening their hearts? Why others experience vulnerability as dangerous? Today, I want to take you through a different kind of museum. Not a museum full of famous paintings, but a museum full of patterns recreated while trying to find safety in love. I welcome you to the Museum of Attachment. Before we walk through these exhibits, I want to make something clear. Attachment styles are not diagnoses, and they are not permanent identities. They are not excuses for unhealthy behavior. They're a simplified way in understanding patterns and how we experience closeness, trust, vulnerability, independence, and emotional safety. These patterns may be shaped by early caregiving, later relationships, painful experiences, and the environment in which we learned what connection meant. You may recognize yourself in more than one room. You may even notice different patterns appearing in different relationships. And these patterns can change as we gain self-awareness, experience healthier relationships, and practice new ways of connecting. So as we walk through this museum, try not to ask, which art piece am I? Instead ask, which patterns feel familiar? When do they appear? And what might they be trying to protect? Every piece in this museum was created for a reason. Every artifact has a story. Our first exhibit is called The Open Door. Secure attachment generally means feeling comfortable with both closeness and independence. It means being able to love someone without completely losing the connection to yourself. Now, being securely attached does not mean that someone never gets hurt. It doesn't mean they never feel jealous, afraid, insecure, or uncertain. It means they can experience those feelings without automatically thinking the relationship is ending. They understand that conflict doesn't always mean abandonment. They express their needs, listen to someone else's, and then move towards repair. They understand that love can have difficult moments and still survive. The open door represents connection without captivity. It can open to let someone in and close when a healthy boundary is needed. The restoration practice in this room is communication. Say what you feel, ask for what you need. Listen without abandoning yourself. And remember that repair, not perfection, is part of a healthy love. But what happens when that open door feels like it could close at any moment? The next exhibit is something that many people may recognize: the unanswered letter. Because for someone experiencing anxious attachment, silence can be incredibly loud. A delayed response, a change in someone's energy, a message that feels shorter than usual, a feeling that something is different. And suddenly, the mind begins searching for answers. When connection feels uncertain, the nervous system may respond as if something important is at risk. The person might seek reassurance, overanalyze small changes, or work harder to resolve the closeness. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this topic is because I've lived some of this experience myself. I know what it feels like to care about something and try and understand the spaces between you. Trying to understand why someone pulls away. Trying to figure out whether you said the wrong thing, whether you asked for too much, or if there was something you could do differently to make the connection feel safer. And I think that's where many of us get stuck. We start studying the other person so closely that we forget to check in with ourselves. We become so focused on understanding their wounds, their fears, and their reasons for protecting themselves that we forget to ask a very important question. Is this relationship also making me feel valued, safe, and seen? And that was a difficult lesson for me to learn. Understanding someone's attachment pattern can create compassion. It can help us recognize that some people act from their own fears, pain, and protective patterns. But compassion does not mean accepting a relationship where your needs are continuously unmet. Someone can have a reason for the way they show up, and that reason can be valid, and you still get to honor your own needs. Learning about attachment was not about finding a label for someone. It's about recognizing patterns, understanding myself, and learning what healthy connection actually requires. The restoration practice in this room is learning to pause before turning uncertainty into rejection. Regulate before you react. Ask for clarity instead of trying to read someone's mind. Return your attention to yourself. And remember, someone else's distance does not determine your worth. In the next room, the response to vulnerability looks very different. Instead of reaching harder for the connection, the instinct is to move against it. This may be one of the most misunderstood exhibits in the museum. The locked room. When we look at a locked room from the outside, we may assume that there's nothing on the inside. But sometimes the room is full of feelings that were never expressed, needs that were never spoken, and pain that was never processed. Vulnerability that never felt completely safe. Dismissive-avoidant patterns can place a strong value on independence, minimizing emotional needs, or creating distance when closeness feels overwhelming. Sometimes distance can be a way of managing vulnerability, dependence, or emotions that feel difficult to express. One of the biggest misconceptions about avoidance is that distance means that they don't care. A person can have feelings, and a person can care deeply. A person can want love and still struggle with communication, vulnerability, and emotional stability. But it's also important to understand this. Distance is not proof that someone secretly cares. We cannot determine another person's feelings from an attachment label. We still have to pay attention to their communication, choices, consistency, and behavior. Understanding someone else's wounds does not mean you have to keep abandoning yourself. You can understand why someone struggles. You can have compassion for their story and still recognize that love requires more than feelings. Love requires showing up, communication, growth, consistency, and willingness. The restoration practice in this room is learning to communicate before disappearing. Instead of shutting the door without explanation, someone could say, I care about this conversation, but I feel overwhelmed. I need some time, and then we can come back and talk about it later. Healthy space has communication around it. It has clarity, consideration, and return. It's not the same as leaving someone indefinitely outside a locked door. But some people don't remain only on one side of that door. They may reach for the handle and turn away as soon as it starts to open. Our final attachment exhibit is the pendulum. This exhibit represents a painful contradiction: the desire to be loved and the fear of what love might cost. The heart says, come closer, and the protective part says, don't hurt me. This can create a painful rhythm, reaching for connection, beginning to feel exposed once that connection arrives, and then pulling away to feel safe again. The person may not be confused about wanting love. They may be caught between two powerful expectations. Love is what I need, and love is where I might get hurt. This pattern can sometimes look inconsistent from the outside. Someone may seek reassurance, but then be uncomfortable when they receive it. They may fear being abandoned, while also fearing what will happen if they fully trust someone. They may move toward connection when they feel distant, and away from connection when they feel exposed. The restoration practice in this room is learning to slow down the approach-retreat cycle. To notice when fear has been activated, to name what's happening instead of testing, chasing, or disappearing, and to build trust through small, safe, consistent experiences. Healing does not require to force the pendulum to stop swinging overnight. It begins by noticing when it starts to swing and choosing one different response. Now we enter the final room, the restoration gallery, because healing is not about destroying these pieces of ourselves. It's about understanding why they were created. It's about honoring the versions of ourselves that needed those strategies, without letting the old strategy control every new relationship. Restoration begins with awareness. Notice what activates you. Notice the story your mind immediately tells you. Notice whether you chase connection, withdraw, or move between the two. Then pause. Regulate your body before asking fear to interpret the moment. Separate what you know from what you're assuming. And ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen right now? What do I actually need? Can I communicate that need clearly? And is the relationship capable of meeting me with honesty, respect, and consistency? The goal is not to diagnose yourself. And it's not to diagnose someone you love. Understand what activates it, communicate what you need, and practice different responses. Sometimes the pain we feel is an old wound being activated. And sometimes it's information about what's happening in the relationship right now. Healing asks us to learn the difference. Sometimes that work happens through self-reflection. Sometimes it happens through healthier relationships. And sometimes it happens with the support of a qualified mental health professional. You do not have to shame the person you once were to become someone new. You can appreciate what an old pattern tried to do for you and still decide you no longer want it creating your future. You are not your attachment style. You are not your past. You are not the thing you learned while simply trying to survive. You are not trapped in any of these exhibits. And you get to decide what you create next.